Freudian slip, a new way to lose in a season where they've lost in a variety of different ways.
Yeah, that pretty much sums it up. I mean, that's it's again back to the notion that they've had a few times this season of every time they make a mistake, it ends up in the back of their net, and two of them there. Coatsy kind of summed it up. Two of them there in the third period. And there were a couple of others earlier in the game that ended up having an effect, but
Broussard turnover.
Yeah, I mean the first Hartman goal. I guess it evens out because Hartman did essentially the same thing that Travis Konechny did in the second period. But it's just a matter tonight of which team had more mistakes end up in their net, and unfortunately it was Philadelphia.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that needs to happen with the remaining 28 games, I want to say off the top of my head, is they need to find a way to either get Ivan Provorov right or figure out what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Because that turnover in the third period from down below the circle on the left side on a cross-ice stretch pass. There was a pass last week that he made where it was just clear. They ended up getting an empty net goal in it, and he just didn't see the guy. And again, the guy's fronting the Flyers player, the path from Provorov to the Flyer player, and he gives it to that guy, and it just ends up in the back of your net. And look, I don't see anything that indicates that he's hurt or he's dealing with an injury. I think his confidence is just gashed. Like it's gone.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that needs to be figured out because there's so much tied up in him as a top pairing guy, and he's just not performing at a top pairing level. I mean, he's a guy that's in incredible shape and has performed really well in this league, but some of the mistakes by him this year are mentally confounding.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's mental. It's not an ability thing.
Yeah,
it's not a it's not even I don't think necessarily a lack of attention to detail or a lack of trying. It's just it's a mental block right now.
His eyes are playing tricks on him.
Yeah, I think we saw, to be honest, some of that last year with Carter.
Big time.
And now it's the same sort of thing that's happening, with Provorov. And again, you're right. That's got to figure out, where that is and fix it. So he can use the rest of the season to kind of settle down and prepare for a normal off season. That's the thing that you were talking about this the other day about what the Flyers have to do here for the last 30 games. Well, let's again get the stage set for a normal off season for the first time in 3 years.
Yeah,
the 2019 summer was the last time that these players went through a normal off season, and the hope is that this one is going to be normal. So again, that's part of it. You definitely don't want him going into the summer having played a lot of hockey like the puck's a hand grenade. You want to have him go in with confidence and know that he just has to kind of buckle down and get the get the work in over the summer and come back fresh next year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge believer in the healthy scratch player, especially a guy that's answered the bell as many times as he has.
Oh, yeah.
His streak was broken over 400 games because of COVID, because he was in asymptomatic COVID protocol. And they don't have many options. They just don't. There's so many guys injured and stuff. But he looks like a player that could use a night just to kind of reset.
Yeah,
it just looks that way.
And again, that there's value in that.
And I'm not saying he's a bad hockey player. I'm just saying right now his confidence is gassed.
There's value in that. You spend 400 consecutive games playing it from that level. You can get a reset by spending a game up top. So I don't know if that's in the cards for him or not. But you're right. They don't necessarily have a ton of other people to toss in there. But it would not be. If that happens, it's not a dig on him. It's not a, you're not, it's not a punishment, is what I'm getting at. It's just a tool,
a way to help the player,
to help him, get back to what they know he can do.
Yeah, I mean, And frankly, like the goal that we're talking about in that turnover, we're talking about, he had 2 turnovers prior in the game that they didn't get the result of being scored on. So it wasn't just that play, and I'm just picking on a guy for one play, but it's just, it's kind of baffling at this point. I'm really stunned at, just the way they found a way to lose this game. The Broussard play is a stunner to me too, because this is a guy with over 900 games in the NHL, a sage veteran. He's played over, I think, 130 playoff games, and there's under 5 seconds left in the period. So, I mean, you're just going to eat that puck along the wall, right? And I mean, there's 5, if not 10, if not 20 things you do with that puck. But the thing that he did do with the puck, with under 5 seconds to go in a period, and try and throw it up the middle, and just didn't get enough on it and turned it over, and it ended up in the back of their net with, I think it's determined to be 3 seconds left in the period. And like, you just don't expect those things from guys from those sources. You can live with that from a young player in a sideways season like this, but it's hard to accept that from veteran players. And Broros a veteran, and Broussard obviously is a veteran.
Yeah,
and that's to me, those 2 plays are what cost them the game tonight.
Right. Yep. You can see that, and again, he probably, when you're, it's hindsight to an extent. Like, you're probably thinking, all right, especially as a veteran like him, that what he's about to do is a safe play, because in his head that puck is going to go,
he's skying it
15 feet over that guy's head.
Yeah,
but it just rolls on, or whatever happened, that
just
he didn't get all of it.
Yeah,
and that's pretty much the worst case scenario.
He needed a lob wedge, and he pulled a 4-iron.
Yeah, and he sculled it.
Right?
Yeah.
He sculled it.
So
always the analogies.
Yeah, I again, it's unfortunate that it mattered, really. You would hope that, all right, that happens.
It's 2-2.
Get it back, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But it's unfortunate that it did. But that's what it comes down to for the game night. And, it does kind of, in a way, sum up the season this team has having. Just you would think too, it makes that mistake, and all right, well, the guy gloves it down, and he doesn't have time to do anything with it. He doesn't he doesn't get a shot off, or somebody blocks it, or whatever. But not only was it gloved down, but the Flyers defense didn't close on him. And he just came right down Broadway. So
I almost think they were all baffled.
Yeah, it was almost like I'm not sure some of them. I'm not sure Justin Braun knew where the puck was.
Yeah,
they just assumed it was down the ice. But
he obviously wasn't feeling well. He left the game. He had that long shift you talked about, and then he went down the hallway and lost lunch. And then he's dealing with the flu, so he did not come out in the third period. Obviously, that doesn't help. He's your top pairing right side guy right now, but. Both the game tying goal comes at 12:16 from Matt Boldy on the play we just talked about, and then Jonas Brodin gives Minnesota the lead, and off that shot from the point, which was heavily screened. I think it went under a leaping Wild player, and Ristolainen kind of caught part of Hart's track as well, and he just didn't see it and went right over his head.
It's. I used to think the same thing with Wayne Simmons. It's remarkable how high some of these guys can jump.
On
skates.
Yeah.
In this case, it was 89. I'm not intimately familiar with the Minnesota Wild roster. It was Goodrow doing it again.
Yeah.
So, what kind of contribution does he make in this game? He gets that goal at the end of the first, and then he provides the screen, really.
In an unlikely way.
Yeah. In a very high altitude way.
Yeah. Ryan Hartman with 2 goals in the game, and I know there's been a lot of lamenting on Twitter. How'd the Flyers let Ryan Hartman go?
May I again stress that he equaled his goal output tonight that he did in the entirety of his time here.
Yeah. Didn't he have both his goals in one game for the Flyers?
Probably, yeah.
He had that big hit for the Flyers. I mean, he's a guy that's averaged per 82 games in his career, 14 goals this season. He's having a good year. Tip of the cap to him. He wanted some pretty decent money. Flyers knew they had to move him. They moved him for Tyler Pitlick. And Pitlick was a big cog here in 1920. He didn't get re-signed kind of because of flat cap, and he was due a raise. And they had to find ways to shave money, and that's what they did with Pitlick. But
they wanted to keep both Pitlick and Nate Thompson.
Yeah.
They ended up, both of them ended up getting away, and then Thompson came back, fortunately. But hasn't had the season he wanted. It's you can't I guess you can't have both. You can't say that the Flyers should have kept Hartman and then said they shouldn't got rid of Pitlick.
Yeah.
One or the other guy.
Yeah. So I'm not going to lament the loss of a guy like Ryan Hartman, but anyway,
that's not the problem.
Yeah. I mean, the guy, he averages 14 goals. He's having a good season.
Yeah.
He's got 20 goals. Let's not act like he's not doing what Kadri's doing. Kadri's a better player, obviously, and he's a free agent. We'll see. All right, let's take a timeout. We'll come back with more here from the Wells Fargo Center. It's Flyers postgame show. It's Brian Smith, Jason Martinez. We're back after this on the BetRivers.com Flyers broadcast network. To the Minnesota Wild by a final score of 5-4. They had that 4-3 lead, and then within a minute, 2 goals at 12:16 and 12:41 from Minnesota. That tied the game and then gave Minnesota the lead, which they held on to. Flyers had some good chances with the goaltender pulled, but were unable to get anything by Cam Talbot, who I thought was really shaky in the game. It was a really loose kind of game tonight. Yeah. Not a lot of structure.
Yeah, it was really at both ends, but you could tell that Minnesota is still not clicking, on all cylinders. They've they were able to pull one out here tonight, but they're not the Wild team that went through the earlier part of this year with that long unbeaten streak. They're going to have to shape some things up. They're not going to come away from this game saying, "Oh wow, we were world beaters tonight." They're going to know that this was one that very easily could have slipped away from them. So again, it's it's one of those things where the Flyers have not been able to close out these games, and it's weird because it's not for lack of experience. It's just I don't know if it's a matter of talent. Just they're still missing 6 guys out of the lineup that would be regulars night in and night out if they were there. So if it's something like that, it seems to be a little bit of that combined with a little bit of again the stuff we were talking about with Provorov that just not not playing to his overall potential that we think is probably just a bit of a mental thing that he needs to kind of flush away and all that. But who knows? Maybe something like getting Kevin Hayes back on Saturday, which we're hoping will happen. Again, a guy like Hayes, he's been around all season, but even when you're around all season, you can't be on the bench when you're hurt. So putting him out there, maybe that's a breath of fresh air for the team. Getting him out there on a game-by-game basis and being involved in everything. We'll see what happens, but it's just another one of those ones tonight that's tough to accept, and you want to try to eliminate it as much as you can going forward.
We got a tweet from Andrew Alvarez. Tweeted me and said the Flyers are so slow and methodical with everything they do. Way too easy to defend. Other teams get the puck and they go quick and moving the puck. It's bad. And I thought one line did not do that tonight. I thought the Scott Lawton line and Travis Konechny, I thought that line was really good in the game tonight.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they created a lot of opportunities. Obviously they had a couple of goals, which certainly helps. But I do agree with that notion. When you watch sometimes, it's not that there's a lack of urgency, but there is a lack of playing fast.
Yes.
They're not the fastest team in the league. And sometimes teams that aren't fast skaters per se can play fast. And some teams that are really fast can play slow. I think the Flyers, the way they're playing, don't stress an opponent enough because they don't recoil quick enough.
Right.
And create that, if there's a turnover in the neutral zone, sometimes it is a little too safe. Bring it back to the D to D, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes it's prudent to just get that puck again, get it in deep, get on it, or get that puck and go back in as a 5-man unit, recoil, and stress the opponent because you're playing on a short ice.
Right.
And I agree with Andrew. In this game tonight, I didn't think the Lawton line did that a whole heck of a lot, and Giroux's line to some extent. But I do agree that is a bit of an issue, that they don't stress the opponent enough by kind of recoiling or, after a turnover, getting right back on the opposition and putting them on their heels.
In terms of how the puck is moved around the zone, when they do have sustained offensive pressure, a lot of times it is just, it's going clockwise or counterclockwise. It's going in a circle. There needs to be a little bit more variety there. You don't see a ton of cycles with this team like we did on that goal by the fourth line in the second period.
Patrick Brown goal.
And it really wasn't something that had occurred to me until I saw it happen, and I realized, wow, I have not seen a lot of cycling from this team this year. And I don't know if that's deliberate or
why it stuck out.
If it just got away from them or whatever. But teams that cycle, that's how you create confusion.
Yeah, that's how Hartman got his first goal.
Yeah, when the puck's just going around the horn all the time.
You just rim it back and forth. It's like, okay, they're going to give you that,
right? And then somebody eventually gets a shot that maybe gets through, and it's a relatively easy save, or it ends up getting blocked, and they go the other way with it. The overall, to me, the overall situation where you're stepping back into the offense. I mean, that's what led to me. That's what's led to the one power play goal, the one at the end of the period, the second period.
James Van Riemsdyk.
Flyers had if you go back and look at how that came together. Flyers had what I would categorize as a pretty creative zone entry there.
Mm-hmm.
Usually you're just trying to skate it down the wall and then rivet around and get set up on the other side, or you're just trying to blast it in and go get it. Claude Giroux carried that over the line and then kind of stopped and played a little bit of catch with the angle, and that's how they got into the zone in the first place.
Yeah, a little two-man game right there.
So that's the kind of stuff that's been lacking a little bit. Is zone entries on the power play that that are effective, and then again hitting the line as a 3-man unit on when they're coming into the zone. That hasn't happened very much. So again, I don't know if it's a matter of folks being out of position. I mean, Flyers played a lot of the first part of this year with no centers. Guys having to jump in there. I don't know if it's that. I don't know if it's a matter of any other things that lack of execution. But that kind of stuff is, I think, what we see from the successful teams in this league.
Yeah, absolutely, and that play too, where Giroux and Yandel have that little 2-man game to establish and set up the power play. They didn't give up possession to do it. So they didn't put the puck at risk per se, and they get in. Then they're able to work their power play from the half wall to the handle as the high point man, and get into that 1-3-1 that they run on the power play. And they've been really looking for that bumper position a lot more, and to be able to kind of execute from there. But you look at it, and it's just. I mean, they had a power play goal here in this game too. Mm-hmm. And Giroux finds a way to get that puck, to the net, and they're still saying it's James Van Riemsdyk's goal, so I guess he did tip it.
Apparently everybody in the building saw that except for us.
Yeah, except for us. So,
I mean, the only reason I even reacted the way I did is because it never even occurred to me that it was tipped until I went to call for the highlight in the intermission, and I looked at the score sheet, and it was Van Riemsdyk's goal. So I think that's pretty well said.
Yeah. No doubt about it. Well, they're going to get back at it coming up on Saturday against a team that's also in a kind of a similar situation as the Flyers. They're in a situation where they have some big decisions to make to move forward. They just hired a new general manager, and the Chicago Blackhawks will be in town. Still got some high-end talent, obviously, with Patrick Kane there.
You don't want to know how old that guy is, by the way.
The general manager, he's 33, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's sick to me.
What have I done with my life?
Yeah, some people, they say all men are created equal, but that is total and utter BS. Because they are not all created equal. Because I didn't get the brain of a lot of people. I certainly didn't get the stature or physical capabilities of a lot of people. But so no, we are not created equal. That's baloney. But anyway.
But yeah, that's I think that's a good spot for them. They took a lot of different looks around a lot of different things in Chicago. They interviewed a basketball executive, a baseball executive, and they decided,
a woman basketball executive from the Toronto Raptors, and a guy from the Cubs.
They
NHL general managers were not going to be happy if they hired either one of them. You know why? Because it opens up the talent pool of potential general managers in their sport.
Yeah. And for a lot of people looking at that from the outside, that's a good thing. If you're on the inside looking out, you get exactly where you're coming from there.
Yeah.
But do you believe that the Chicago Blackhawks, being around for as long as they have, I believe somewhere between 85 and 90 years, Kyle Davidson is only their 10th general manager.
No.
10.
Seriously?
1-0.
How long was Stan Bowman?
Not
really long.
When did he?
10,
when
maybe
did he
like
become the
12
actual
years?
GM? Because he was
09.
Was he the GM of the Cup team?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so yeah, but it would have been 08, 09, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, just prior to that, that franchise was in tatters. Their games weren't even televised locally.
Yeah. Oh well, that was the owner's fault. Yeah. I mean, that was
the old man Rocky.
Rocky is the one that took over from Bill Wirtz. Yeah. Bill Wirtz was
the old man,
the old man. And now you got Rocky in there, and he's the one. Yeah, he activated home TV and all that. And now it's Danny Wirtz who's next in line.
Yeah,
right. So
he may be at the head of the line after that press conference not too long ago.
Well, yeah, that was unfortunate and interesting to watch. Yeah, Danny was ready to answer everything that was being asked of him, and didn't get a chance.
Yeah, his old man grabbed a chainsaw and cut his legs off. That's what that is. Basically, just chopped his legs off and said,
That's
who's calling the shots here, everybody."
That is a pretty solid metaphor there. It's I just brought it up. Tommy Ivan was the GM of the team for 23 years, followed by Bob Pulford, who was the GM of the team for another 23 years.
Wow. Serious.
Mike Keenan was the GM of this team.
Head
for
coach
2
and
years. I was not aware he held that.
Yeah.
Wasn't aware he held that.
When they brought up Roenick from the Hull Olympique, where JR was actually coached by who? Elaine Vigneault.
There you go. Yeah, Stan Bowman, 2009 to 2021. So they actually, Bob Pulford's been the GM of the team like 4 times. They only count him once for all that. He was the interim on a. He got it. He actually had it for 5 years in the 90s, but then he was the interim on a couple of occasions. So,
all right, so
interesting numbers.
So the Flyers in the 6 games of this 8-game homestand so far have a record of 1, 4, and 1.
It's
they have the overtime loss to Carolina. They have the win, which came against Washington this past Saturday, and they'll try and get a win in Game 7 of the 8-game stand against Chicago on Saturday. And then Tuesday, they'll wrap it up against Vegas before heading out on what is a pretty tough couple of games on a road trip. Florida and Carolina. Oofa.
That is, by the way,
back-to-back too, by the way.
On Saturday, that is a national telecast.
Oh, okay. Is there a national radio cast on that too?
I think I think we're it.
Oh,
but
looking for a day off.
The ABC television.
Can I be healthy scratch for Pat? Is that in the radio NHL Regs rulebook? Okay. Well, you're always healthy. I kid.
That's uncalled for.
Me and Pat give it to you. Pat is always of the mindset he's got to earn his next shift. Go out, do something, earn your next one. That's a good mentality to have. And that's exactly what we'll do Saturday when the Flyers take on Chicago.
That's all you can do at this point. It's just a matter of head down, try to get back there and erase it. And again, they do have only 2 days here to sit on this. I believe there's practice tomorrow, and then no morning skate on Saturday with the early start time, 3:00, by the way, in case that slipped by you. And then again, hopefully they can erase this taste in their mouths. I don't think Chicago's won here. I think that still stands in like 25 years, except for that one pesky game in the playoffs a few years ago. This is another one of those bizarre things where regular season wise, the Flyers have not lost to Chicago here in a very long time. It was them and Detroit.
Yeah.
It's
they won cups in 10, 13, and 15.
Yes.
Because the Kings won it in 12 and 14.
Correct.
Who won it in 11?
Boston,
that's right, yeah. Because they won it the year after the Flyers came back against them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they won that over Vancouver. Last thing before we get out of here, you can go with Pat's theory of earn your next shift, or you could go with Keith Jones' theory of forecheck, back check, paycheck, or forecheck, occasionally back check, paycheck.
That youth game I played in yesterday, the parent-kid game, they told us there was no checking, and I made sure that they, that included back checking.
Yeah, is that what they meant?
Yeah, I mean, no checking of any kind at all, including that. But these guys are not in that boat. You got to do everything still, right? And there's, I think they are doing it again right now. And Mike Yeo said it the other day against Edmonton. He didn't want to say it was a lack of effort, because it wasn't a lack of effort. It was a lack of execution, and that's just happening a little bit too much right now, unfortunately.
Yep, and that's been the biggest thing that's kind of put them where they are. All right, let's wrap it up. Pat, who was on highlights tonight? Jay Gray on that's a good pull. Jay Gray on highlights somewhere, wherever he is on earth. Our in-studio engineer is Pat Egan. Our on-set engineer, Betsy Deming. Our crew here inside the East Food Hall, thank you very much. For Brian Smith, I'm Jason Martinez. For Steve Coates, you've been listening to Philadelphia Flyers hockey.
And Tim Saunders.
I
don't want to get that phone call later.
I've lost my mind at this point. It's all mush. Everybody, have a great rest of your night. We'll talk to you coming up Saturday on the BitRivers.com Flyers Broadcast Network.
Yeah.
Pat.